KW Sports of Lompoc presents the undefeated number 3 rated Northwestern Conference Conquistadors will battle the number 6 rated Atascadero Greyhounds in what could prove to be the game for the Los Padres League title. TV 21 Sports is being brought to you in part by Moore's Department Store, now 105 years in Lompoc, by your McDonald's of Lompoc, Minuteman Medical Supply for hospital equipment, sales, and rentals, Lompoc Van and Storage, your United Van Nuys agent, Discount Furniture, discounts 365 days a year, Robertson Shell Service, and by Medical Center Pharmacy, the innovative pharmacy of Lompoc. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Gene Lynch, along with Ernie Hutchinson, and we're here in Atascadero for what should be the Los Padres League Championship ball game tonight, Ernie.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt about it. This will be the game that's on the line for the championship. These are the two best teams in the league, and I think everybody in the league knows it. Looking for a good ball game, though, out of both clubs tonight, and I'm sure Atascadero, with the tradition that they have up here in the Los Padres League, will play just as hard as they possibly can against the new kids on the block, Cabrillo.
Well, Coach Bob Bradford says he expects a country football game, and that's a lot of head crashing and pad popping. And Cabrillo has played that way all year. They're coming into this ball game 6-2. Both of these teams 1-0 in the league. And as you mentioned, Atascadero was such a fine tradition. They get more kids out for freshman football up here than most high schools get out for their whole program. But they don't like losing it, and they don't certainly want to lose here on their home field.
Well, they certainly don't. They, however, have lost 2 ball games this year, and both of them to teams, though, out of Salinas County. So Cabrillo is, I think, the first and probably the only test they're going to have in league play.
Cabrillo coming in, of course, with the Davis-Walton gang. Rod Davis has slipped to second in the standings now as a ball carrier on the ground, passed by Griffin of San Luis Obispo, and Walton in third place right behind him. Cabrillo as a team, however, tops in rushing offense, tops in a lot of categories in San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara County. They're coming in against an Atascadero team that's been plagued by injuries pretty much all season long, but they've got some guns themselves.
Well, that's true. Cabrillo does have the fine tandem of running backs. Atascadero, unfortunately, has had some injuries, but in a ball game like this, that doesn't make that much of a difference. They're ready to play, and I think it's going to be the turnovers and the team that wants it the most that's really going to make the difference in tonight's ball game.
Well, it's awfully cold. Neither team likes to pass the ball a lot, even though Cabrillo's had some success this year. The quarterback for Atascadero, Tom Kafuri, doesn't throw the ball a lot. He throws a lot of interceptions, 42% completion percentage, but he's got some people who can run the ball and can run from that wide receiver position as well. Receivers that can get free and with a little bit of space can hurt you really bad in a hurry.
Well, one thing you've mentioned that I was going to mention, it is cold up here tonight, and that's something else that I don't know if Atascadero has played in this weather up here, if it's been this cold before, but I know Cabrillo hasn't played any kind of a ball game, and it's going to tell, I think, on the receivers and probably on some of the backs holding on to the ball tonight.
Well, everybody we talk to expects a pretty high-scoring, free-for-all ball game, and we'll be back with the opening kickoff right after this. Gene Lynch, along with Ernie Hutchinson, here in Atascadero for what we've said all along is going to be the big game in the Los Padres League. In the center of the field, the captains for the two teams, number 8, Fitz Wilson, number 25, Mike Sullivan for Cabrillo, and for Atascadero, it's number 65, Craig Ivey, and number 76, Scott Davis. Both of these teams 1-0 in the Los Padres League. Cabrillo coming off a big win against Morro Bay. Atascadero, as we've mentioned in the pregame, with a fine football tradition and an excellent record. Cabrillo once again to receive the ball.
Well, this is going to be the big one, Gene. Both of these teams 1-0 in league, and this, as all the newspapers have said, certainly in most people's estimate will be the game for the championship here in the Los Padres League.
Well, given the pregame, or the preseason games rather, it seems that none of the other teams in the Los Padres League are serious threats to either of these two. St. Joseph's having an off year, a building year perhaps, and Paso Robles, after a great season last season, having a little trouble getting started. So the Greyhounds will kick off. to the Conquistadors. Kicking will be number 65, Craig Ivy. Ivy, a 5'10", 181-pound junior.
Kicking for Atascadero, number 65, Craig Ivy.
Back deep to receive for the Conquistadors will be number 12, Brian Grant.
Receiving for the Conquistadors, number 23, Kenny Walton. And number 12, Brian Grant. And number 48, Richard Flowers. Here we go.
So it's all on the line right now for the Greyhounds and the Conquistadors. We're underway. Kick taken by Flowers at the 4-yard line. And Flowers only able to get the ball back to the 10. And a great swarming defense.
Good swarming defense, but Flowers made a big mistake, too. He reached for the ball instead of taking a couple of steps back and then catching it. As it descended, he tried to reach for it, and it cost him some precious yards.
So it's 1st and 10 for the Conquistadors. The ball at the Cabrillo 10-yard line. Sullivan and Tim Morgan come wide to the left. It's Davis and Walton and Wilson in the backfield. The give is to Rod Davis. And Davis able to get only a couple. It'll be 2nd down and 8 for Cabrillo. Soik and Miranda at the guards. John Roberts at center. McClanahan and Soto at the tackle. On the option, Wilson elects to keep the ball and gets maybe one. It'll be 3rd down. They give him a couple. 3rd down and 6 for the Conquistadors. At the 14. So this Greyhound defense is really charged.
Well, they certainly are. They've played the first 2 plays well.
To go for Cabrillo on their own 14-yard line.
3rd and 6 at the 14 for the Conquistadors. Wilson to throw the ball early. Throws a shovel pass. And there's a penalty flag on the play.
He picked it up.
I see that. Shovel pass falls incomplete. It'll be 4th and long, and Cabrillo will kick the ball. John Roberts will go back to punt the ball. Back deep to receive for the Greyhounds. Number 21, D. Harris, and number 19, David Diaz.
Back to receive for Atascadero, number 19, David Diaz, and number 21, D. Harris. Number 65 on the kick for the
So Atascadero probably with excellent field position to start their first possession. The ball is taken by number 21, D. Harris, at the 45-yard line, is immediately drilled.
Well, the Greyhounds certainly here with good field position to start off, and Cabrillo, in the games that I've seen them play, I didn't see the game last week, Gene, but in every game that I've seen them play, they always get off to a slow start, and tonight has certainly not been any different.
First and 10 Greyhounds. At quarterback is number 2, Tom Kefuri. Wishbone offense. The give is to the fullback, down to about the 45-yard line. Number 44, Joe Scott, with a 3-yard pickup on the play. It'll be 2nd down and 7.
and number 85, Scott Duncan. 2nd down, Hound. 2nd and 7.
Kefuri with not a great passing arm, but when he throws effectively. He has 6 touchdowns. It's 2nd and 7 for the Greyhounds. Once again to the fullback.
Joe Scott
And Joe Scott moves the ball through a nice hole all the way down to the Cabrillo 38-yard line. So it'll be first down, if we call it. First and 10 Greyhounds. So Atascadero not having any difficulty moving the ball in those first two plays. The ball is at the 38-yard line. First and 10 for the Greyhounds.
First and 10 for Atascadero on Cabrillo's 37-yard line.
Furry brings them up. Wide receiver number 11, Chris Heineman on the right. The give is to number 34, Adrian Cooks. And Cooks with great quickness down to about the 30-yard line.
Stop initially by number 85, Scott Duncan.
Good second effort that time by Cook. He was hit at about the 33 or 34-yard line and able to squirm on second effort all the way down to the 30-yard line.
Second down and 2 on the belly series, and Kafuri didn't want to give the ball away. Fullback Joe Scott hit immediately upon receiving the ball. Thrown for a loss. The loss on the play of about 2. Bring up third down and 3.5 for the Greyhounds. The give is to Joe Scott once again, and the big fullback getting a workout.
And we have a flag on the play, so we'll have to wait and see what the call is. A clip is the call, and that's unfortunate for the Greyhounds because they were moving the ball well, and those penalties of 15 yards can do nothing but hurt you when you're on a good drive like that, Gene.
Well, they've had great luck off the wishbone giving to the fullback, Scott. And Scott had a big gainer there, but it all goes for naught as they back it up from the point of the foul. It'll bring the ball all the way to the 39-yard line. Call it the 38 of Cabrillo.
So instead of first and 10 at about the 17 now, it'll be third and 9 from the 39-yard line.
Third down and about 11. Number 1, Jerry Brandon goes wide to the left. Chris Heineman to the right. Kafuri wants to throw the ball. Looking for Heineman. And finds a big hole. While scrambling, moves the ball all the way down to the 26-yard line. That's heads-up play by Tom Kafuri.
Well, he made a couple of good moves right at the end of his run, and he has enough for the first down. So good, Cabrillo with good coverage in the secondary, but not very much pursuit from the front 4 or 5.
6:40 remaining here in the first quarter. There is no score. Cabrillo punted away on their first possession, and Atascadero moving the ball. Brandon comes to the right. Heineman goes left. The give is to number 21, D. Harris, and Harris stopped at the line of scrimmage for no gain. They're actually going to mark it as a slight loss. It'll be second down and about 11. Ball just at the 27-yard line. Tom Kafuri, one of the finest quarterbacks in the Los Padres League, brings the Greyhounds to the line of scrimmage. on the option. It is nailed immediately for a big loss by Tawa Davis. The ball marked all the way back to the 30-yard line.
Brought down up to 35, Tawa Davis.
It's third down and 14 for the Greyhounds. With just over 5 minutes remaining here in the first quarter.
Third down, Atascadero, third and 14 on the Conquistador 30-yard line.
Pro set in the backfield now for the Greyhounds as Kafiri wants to throw the ball. A big rush and dumps it off over the middle. A pass intended for number 44, Joe Scott, in what looked to be a screen play that almost let the defensive lineman too far through.
Well, we saw a new wrinkle from Cabrillo. Cabrillo came with a blitz that time with Duncan, the linebacker, coming all the way, and he was, as you say, almost got in there. Well, he did get in there and to break that screen up.
The Fury, as we've mentioned, not great in percentage on the pass. He is rated, however, third in the Los Padres North and the Northern League conferences. But he has thrown 3 interceptions. The Fury to throw the ball again, intended in the flat and complete at the 25-yard line. And the receiver is down on the field.
Good defensive play that time by number 20, Mike Marcelli. He had a chance actually to come through for the ball, but to make sure he knew that there was plenty of yardage to go from there, and made a good solid tackle on the receiver on the right side, so the Conks will take over 1st and 10. Good defensive play that time by Mike Marcelli.
And a big stick. And I didn't see who came out of the backfield to catch that pass, so we'll just have to wait. And Marcelli just nailed him down. So with 4 minutes, 51 seconds remaining here in the first quarter, there's no score. It's Atascadero nothing, and the Conquistadors nothing. We'll be back. John Menes, the end that was injured on the play, up and off the field under his own power. It's 1st and 10, Cabrillo at the 25. Wilson
Number 8 with the ball, Mitch Wilson.
keeps the ball on the option up to about the 29-yard line. A pickup of 4 on the play. It'll be 2nd and 6.
7-6, Costello.
Second and 5, it appears, for the Conquistadors. And their second possession.
5. They're on 30-yard line.
The quick pitch out here to Kenny Walton. Walton trying to get outside is across the 35 and run out of bounds. So the Greyhounds stringing that play out very well to the offensive left side of the line. Walton just able to get around the corner for a gain of about 7 yards and a 1st down, Cabrillo.
The first offensive thrust we've seen from the Conks tonight. Those 2 runs, one by Wilson and one by Walton, and both times they went around the ends. The first one, of course, being a pass play call, but they seem to be having a little success to the outside.
1st down and 10. The ball at the 37. The give is up the middle to Rod Davis, and we have a penalty flag.
It's going to be offsides against somebody. We'll have to wait and see who it is. It was called by the head linesman. Illegal procedure against Cabrillo will be the call. So they'll move them back 5 yards, so it'll be 1st down and 15 for the Conks.
In the first series of downs, Cabrillo tried to run the ball up the middle, and the Greyhounds were just stacked in the middle waiting for him. In this possession, they've decided to try to loosen up that defense a little by going around the ends, and maybe then to pop Rod Davis through the middle on that slant play that he runs so well and so quickly. So the ball moves now all the way back to the 31-yard line. 1st down and 15 for the Conquistadors. Morgan and Vincent Flowers go wide to the right. Wilson on the option keeps the ball and finds a hole up the middle and gets back the penalty and maybe 1 or 2 more.
Wilson, Walton, and Davis looking a little tentative on that option right now, as if they don't know whether to really pitch or what to do with the ball. Wilson, that is, and Walton and Davis looking like they really don't know whether the pitch is going to come to him or not.
Second down and 9 for the Conquistadors. Wilson to throw. Again, the shovel pass up the middle to Kenny Walton. So we've seen the quick pitch and the shovel pass in these first two series of downs for Cabrillo, both new plays, and I'm sure they were inserted just for these Greyhounds. Walton with a pickup all the way to the 42-yard line. Third down and 5. On the option, Wilson has to keep the ball. They cover that option so well. You can tell that they've been looking at films. Cabrillo's gotten rich on the option this year, and the Greyhounds are right there to stop it. Wilson moves the ball up across the 45-yard line to the 45. It'll be fourth down and 2. John Roberts to kick. Back deep to receive for the Greyhounds, number 21, D. Harris, and number 19, David Diaz. Short kick takes an Atascadero bounce at the 29-yard line and is down just across the 30. It'll be first and 10, Greyhounds.
That makes it the Greyhound ball on the 32-yard line.
Good defensive ball game so far, Gene.
Yes, it is.
Although Atascadero has been able to move the ball relatively well against Cabrillo here in the first quarter. We have 1:35 left in the first quarter with the clock running.
So Tom Kafuri now with another chance to take his team down the field. They come back out in that wishbone. In the wishbone, it's Harris and Cooks at the running back with Joe Scott at fullback. Kafuri keeps the ball on the option. And the linebackers, quarterbacks came up so quickly. Kafuri up across midfield.
Both the cornerback and the safety to the left side for Cabrillo sucked inside, and once that happened, Kafuri had all the daylight he needed to the outside.
26-yard pickup by the quarterback, Tom Kafuri. And it's first and 10 Greyhounds, and they've got some momentum running again. Greyhounds with a reputation in the Los Padres League to protect against the new kid on the block, the Cabrillo Conquistadors. First and 10 at the 48. The give is to the fullback, Joe Scott. Scott takes the ball down to the 46-yard line. A pickup of 2. It'll be second down and 8. Less than 30 seconds remaining here in the first quarter. There's no score. Neither team is threatened. But that's the way it started last week against Morro Bay as well. Heineman and Brandon, the wide receivers. The give is up the middle to the fullback once again. And Scott moves the ball across the 45 to the 44-yard line for a pickup of 2. And with that play, it's the end of the first quarter. The Atascadero Greyhounds nothing, and the Cabrillo Conquistadors nothing.
We have no score after one quarter of play here at Atascadero Stadium. It'll be the Greyhounds ball third and about 5 yards to go from the 44-yard line of the Conquistadors. And Gene, the Greyhounds able to move the ball relatively well against the Conks. The Conks not having very much success moving it offensively against the Greyhounds.
Joe Scott, the fullback in that wishbone for the Greyhounds, having great success right up the middle. That offensive line doing quite a job. The center, Kurt Perry, and the guards, Tim Hudson and Jeff Huff, just doing a fine job. So Kafuri now, wanting to throw the ball again, is looking for Jerry Brandon, decides to tuck it in, and is drilled by Scott Duncan as he crosses the 45-yard line.
Again, good coverage in the secondary by the Conks that time. forcing Kafuri to run the ball. But it brings up another 4th and short for the Greyhounds, and, well, it looks like they're bringing their punting team on to the field.
4th down and a long 3. The Greyhounds will kick the ball away and hopefully put the Conquistadors in a deep hole. The kick is blocked by Tawa Davis and recovered by Brad Haskell, number 17. But Haskell unable to make any real progress with the ball, and it'll be Cabrillo's ball in good field position, and Davis hobbling off. They have a penalty flag. The kicker, by the way, number 83, was John Menez.
Illegal procedure will be the call against the Greyhounds, and I'm sure the Conks will refuse this one.
I would think so. So Tawa Davis, perhaps the first hero of the game with that block punt, but he did limp off the field.
Well, that's what the Conks needed, was a big break, and now what they're going to have to do is take advantage of it, and take advantage of it early. I look to see Wilson probably come out and throws for the first time downfield. He's tied 2 shuffle passes, but nothing down into the secondary.
1st and 10 at the Greyhound 46-yard line. The give is to Kenny Walton, and Walton across the 45 down to about the 43-yard line. A pickup of 3, it'll be 2nd and 7 yards.
Number 23 with the ball.
The Greyhound defense very quick off the line of scrimmage. Mike Deal wide to the left. The pitch is to Davis. Davis cuts inside a block by Mike Sullivan and is across the 40-yard line. A nice holding block by Mike Sullivan down at the 40-yard line.
Sullivan and Morgan, the other 2, Flowers and the other wide receiver, they do that so well with that block, and they're not very big fellows, but they just get in front of people and make them have to run through them, and giving the back that time to cut up inside, and Davis takes full advantage of that block every chance he gets.
3rd and 1, and now Cabrillo showing their wishbone with Terry Brantley at fullback. The give is to Kenny Walton, and Walton down to the 35-yard line. It'll be 1st and 10, Cabrillo.
A new wrinkle for the Conks as far as I'm concerned. I don't know if they did it last week or not, but giving the Greyhounds that time a taste of their own medicine.
So it's 1st and 10, the ball at the 35, as Morgan and Sullivan come wide to the right. The give is to Davis, and Davis hit very hard as he crosses the 35-yard line. We can hear those pads cracking clear up here.
And we're a long way away tonight.
2-yard pickup for Rod Davis. Davis, the 2nd leading ground gainer.
They gave him another 1.5 yards after you called.
2nd down and 7, just as we suspected. Mike Deal and Sullivan to the right. The give is to Kenny Walton. And Walton gets to know some of those orange-clad Greyhounds intimately on that play. 8:40 remaining here in the first half. There's no score.
You know, Gene, I'm surprised that the Conks haven't tried to get outside more here in the early part of this ball game. That seems to be where they're having their most success, is running wide.
3rd down and a long 5. Wilson to pass. The shovel pass once again to Davis. This time Davis has a little more green. He picks up the 1st down. Rod Davis once again hit real hard. This game is going to go right down to the wire. These backs are going to get tired of getting beat on both sides.
So was Fitzgerald Wilson. He was hit and knocked all the way back to the 45-yard line just as he released the ball.
So the pass is complete to Davis, who moves the ball all the way down to the 20, where it's 1st and 10, Cabrillo. Wilson on the quick pass to the wide receiver, Mike Sullivan. Sullivan wide open at the 15, advances the ball all the way down to the 3-yard line. And Cabrillo now with the first serious threat here in the ball game. It's first and goal from the 3.
Route that time, because Sullivan didn't have to run much of a route. He just ran straight down the field. He was lined up at a wingback, and they had a wide receiver in front of him that took the corner deep, and a good pass that time by Wilson.
First and goal with the Wishbone offense. That time Wilson keeping the ball right behind center. John Roberts moves it right down to the goal line. It'll be second down and goal. The ball spotted at the 1. That time the whole Wishbone took off to the left end. Wilson just took it himself. I have a feeling that perhaps that was just something that he and John Roberts worked up among themselves. The give is to Rod Davis. And Davis slicing into the end zone for the touchdown. So Cabrillo scores first in a game that might go to the people that score last.
It's the truth. But a good drive that time by Cabrillo on the turnover, and it was the big break of the turnover with the block punt that gave Cabrillo the opportunity to move the ball, and they go on top 6-0 with 7:05 left to go in the first half.
Mike Sullivan on to try the point after out of the hold of Fitz Wilson. And the kick is good. So with 7 minutes, 5 seconds remaining in the first half, it is the Cabrillo Conquistadors 7 and the Atascadero Greyhounds nothing. The Cabrillo Conquistadors out on top by a score of 7-0 here in the second quarter. The whole drive set up, as Ernie mentioned before, and then block punt by Tower Davis. Rod Davis finally going over from the 1-yard line. So Cabrillo now with a chance to hold the line and perhaps put some more on before the end of the half. Brian Grant will kick the ball off. Back deep to receive for the Greyhounds. Number 21 is D. Harris.
Deep to receive for Atascadero, number 21, D. Harris. Number 34, Adrian Cook. And Joe Scott, 44. Number 12 on that kick, Brian Grant.
Harris picks the ball up at the 5 and winds his way up to the 20-yard line, where it'll be first and 10 Greyhounds. And it looked to me on the kickoff as though Cabrillo dodged a bit of a bullet themselves there.
Well, they did. He fumbled the ball around a little bit, and then he had a lot of running room to the left side as the whole right side of the kickoff team sort of converged, and they're going to have to, I'm sure the coaches will talk to them about holding those lanes until that ball gets past them.
First and 10 at the 20 for the Atascadero Greyhounds. Tom Kafuri leads the Greyhounds up. The give is to the quick man, Adrian Cooks. And Cooks advances the ball to the 26. It'll be second and 4. Adrian Cooks, a 5'10", 200-pound junior, and he's as quick as he is big.
Yes, he is. Marcelli, the strong safety for Cabrillo, making a relatively good play there because he was all alone one-on-one with Cooks.
Jerry Brandon, Chris Heineman, the wide receivers for Atascadero. The tight end is Menez. The give once again to Adrian Cooks. And Cooks running through a huge hole, coughs the ball up as he crosses the 45. And so the second break of the ball game goes to the Conquistadors. And that could have been a real big trouble spot for the Conquistadors. And a great run by Cooks, and he couldn't hold on.
Unfortunate, certainly, because Cooks had some running room that time, but
I'll tell you, those guards and tackles, the tackles for Atascadero, Rowan and Hurst, just do a fantastic job of opening up that offensive hole. But it's first and 10, Cabrillo with the ball at the 48-yard line. On the option, Wilson up to the 45 and stopped cold.
well, one thing that Cabrillo did on that last play where Cooks got away coming across the left side of his line when Duncan, the linebacker, or not Duncan, but the linebacker to this right side, when he made his move toward the line of scrimmage, he crashed in, and that left just a natural hole there And so I'm sure that the Greyhound coaching staff has picked up on that.
Second and 8. Wilson can't get the shovel pass off to Davis and has to eat the ball all the way back at the 47. He lost the 2 that they got before, and it'll be third down and 10. So they went to the well once too often.
Not a bad call, though. You run a play until the other team stops it. As long as they were successful with it a couple of times, so come back with it. We'll see it later on in the ball game.
You run it till it works, then you run it till it doesn't work. Third and 11, a loss of 3 on the play for Wilson. Pitch to throw the ball again. Looking for Tim Smart at the 35-yard line. It's through his hands and falls incomplete. So it'll be 4th and 11. John Roberts will kick the ball away. Back deep to receive will be David Diaz and number 21, D. Harris, for the Greyhounds. The Greyhounds get a great round of applause from an appreciative home crowd. I say, Ernie, I'm impressed with the fact that Cabrillo has so many people at the ballgame up here tonight. They have a Reuter bus, a lot of people in the stands. So with 4 minutes and 29 seconds remaining here in the first half, it's Cabrillo 7, Atascadero nothing, and we'll be back. 4:29 remaining in the first half. Gene Lynch along with Ernie Hutchinson. It's Cabrillo 7-0. 4th and 11 from the Atascadero 48-yard line. John Roberts to kick the ball away to Harris and Diaz. Fine hanging kick. Takes a great Cabrillo bounce and will be down inside the 5-yard line. And it's going Cabrillo's way here in the second quarter, Ernie.
It certainly is. That was a good high kick that time by Roberts. And Atascadero backs, of course, very wisely running away from it. And the ball takes a Cabrillo bounce, and the Conch's able to get down and bury the Greyhounds deep in their own territory with 4 minutes, 18 seconds left to play here in the first half. It'll be 1st and 10 from the 3-yard line.
The first quarter seemed to go the way of the Greyhounds. The second quarter so far has certainly been all Cabrillo. Cafuri on the give to D. Harris. And Harris barely out to the 5-yard line. It'll be 2nd and 8. Flowers and Sullivan at the corners for Cabrillo. The give once again is to Harris. And D. Harris, I thought, was stopped at the 10, but it moves the ball all the way out across the 10 to the 13-yard line, and it'll be close.
It's hard to see, Gene, really how he gets away because there's a big pile there, and then all of a sudden Harris just springs through it.
He's got big number 44, Joe Scott, 172-pound fullback out in front, as well as 5'10", 200 pounds Adrian Cook. And that's a lot of blocking if you put that up against those linemen. So it's a first down by half the length of the ball. And Atascadero now with a bit of breathing room with the ball placed at the 13-yard line. 3 minutes, 18 seconds remaining in the half. As Brandon goes wide to the right. Menes, the tight end. Wishbone offense. The give is up the middle to Scott, the fullback. And Scott ran pretty much unimpeded straight up the middle across the 30-yard line.
Another good run that time by Scott, Joe Scott, the fullback. 6 foot, 172-pound senior. And again, the tackle from the defensive tackle to the left side for Cabrillo running himself right out of the play.
1st and 10 at the Greyhound 32. They're only fighting clock now with under 3 minutes remaining in the half. Cafuri on the keeper. Around in across the 40-yard line, a pickup of about 9. on the play. Tom Kafuri with a bit of speed himself. 6 foot 1 inch, 163 pound senior.
And number 85, Scott Duncan.
Moves it to the 42-yard line. It'll be 2nd and 1.
Second down for the Hounds. 2nd and 1 on their own 41-yard line.
2:10 remaining in the half. Kafuri on the keeper. Cuts inside the corner and is across the 45-yard line up to the 47. Kafuri reads that defensive end extremely well in the option.
Number 2 with the ball, Tom Cabrillo. Brought down by number 85, Scott Duncan.
We have a timeout called on the field. I don't see a flag, but we have a holding against Cabrillo was the call. So that'll be another 15 yards tacked on. It'll move the Greyhounds deep now into Conk territory.
Coach Bob Radford not at all pleased about the call. Checks with the official to find out who's responsible so they can get that straightened out in a hurry, and moves the ball all the way up to the 38-yard line of Conquistadors with 2 minutes remaining in the half.
First down for the Hounds.
1st and 10 at the 38, and the Greyhounds having advanced all the way from their own 3-yard line. Kafuri to throw the ball, pitches back to number 34, Adrian Cooks, and Cooks is nailed in a nice defensive play once again by Tawa Davis.
Tawa Davis that time, and then coming across quickly to seal was number 34 for Cabrillo.
Oh,
Terry Brantley. So a loss on the play of about 3 yards, so it'll be 2nd down now, or 5 yards, it'll be 2nd and 15.
Kafuri back to pass. Decides to run. And is run out of bounds at the 35-yard line.
Number 2 with the ball, Tom Cabrillo.
But Kafuri makes up his mind in a hurry, and when he goes, he's going.
Well, he did something smart that time. Just as Cabrillo was zeroing in to make the tackle, he actually faked to throw the ball, and for some reason the Conch defense let up and gave him an extra 3 yards.
It'll be 3rd down and 7. The ball at the 35-yard line. 1 minute, 8 seconds remaining in the half. So the Greyhounds fighting not only the Cabrillo defense, but also the clock. Brandon and Diaz are the wide receivers to the left. As Kafuri wants to throw the ball. Is throwing for Diaz in the end zone. And he's got it. David Diaz making the catch in the back of the end zone over the outstretched arms of Brian Grant.
Well, Grant, I thought, played that as well as he could, except maybe he could have actually taken the ball away from him, but Diaz wanting it, I think, more than Grant.
Well, Grant played it as he's played it all season long. He just waits for the ball to get there and then makes his shot at it. And this time it fell through.
Well, you're supposed to get that ball at the highest point. He waited for it to come down, and he has to stop and realize that Diaz is 6'1", and Grant is about 5'10", and that made the difference that time.
The 35-yard pass play puts Atascadero on the board, and now we have a penalty flag as the Hounds line up for the extra point.
So as it's going to be against the Conks, I think, offside, somebody lined up, and all of a sudden now all of the breaks going the way of the Greyhounds. And the Greyhounds very wisely now, I'm sure, going to go for the 2-point conversion.
Well, they send in the big fullback who's had such a fine first half. Joe Scott, number 44. Number 34, Adrian Cooks in there, and he still can run the ball. They've done very well straight up the middle. So with the 1 yard for the extra point attempt here with 59 seconds remaining, the Hounds looking to go on top. Tom Kafuri with the signals. Keeps the ball on the option, pitches back to number 34, Adrian Cooks. And a fine defensive effort by the Conquistadors. And the Hounds gamble and miss.
Well, the best laid plans of mice and men. He did the right thing, I think, but it backfired. And we'll be back with the kickoff with 59 seconds left to play in the half right after this.
By Greg Ivey. taken by Rod Davis at the 4-yard line. Davis up through a nice hole across the 30 to about the 31 or 2-yard line. It'll be 1st and 10 Cabrillo with 53 seconds remaining in the half.
We were talking at the break. You were asking me if I would have gone for the 2 points. The answer is no.
I heard you, Ernie. I still think it was a good gamble. 1st and 10, Conquistadors at the 31-yard line. 40 seconds remaining in the first half. Wilson wants to throw. He's got Tim Morgan out here at the 35-yard line, and Morgan wisely out of bounds. And 3 seconds come off the clock after that. It's a hometown clock. The ball all the way up to the 38-yard line. Pick up a 7 on the play. It'll be 2nd and goal with 29 seconds remaining. Mike Deal and Mike Sullivan wide to the left. Jay Tiemann at tight end on the right side. Scott Duncan on the left. The pass is to Tiemann over the middle. And the ball thrown low. Incomplete. It'll be 3rd down and a long 2 with 23 seconds remaining in the half. Cabrillo leads it by 1 point. 7-6. I understand, Ernie, in the second half, it's going to cool off up here.
Well, it's awful chilly here at Atascadero right now. This is a beautiful stadium here, down in a bowl. The only probably one disadvantage is there are some light standards that can get in your way, but other than that, a beautiful stadium.
3rd and a long 2 for the Conquistadors. 23 seconds left. Wilson wants to throw, is looking for number 25, Sullivan, over the middle, and we have a flag on the play, and I think we're going to have an ineligible receiver.
Number 62 was as far downfield as the receiver.
So was John Roberts, number 55. That's what it is.
So that'll be a loss of down also. Bring up a
4th down.
4th down. It's going to be academic because I'm sure the Conquistadors is going to fall on the ball and run the clock out here. Well, I don't know. With 17 seconds, the ball at their 24-yard line, no, I doubt if they'll do that because that would give the Greyhounds an opportunity to kick a field goal.
Yeah, they're going to have to try
call
to
a
do
timeout
something.
and kick the field goal.
3rd and 17.
It looks as if the Conks are going to... Oh, it's 3rd down. That's right, Ruby.
3rd and 17. Wide receivers. Morgan and Sullivan. Wilson just killing time, throws the ball across the middle, intended for Rod Davis. And Davis just about 4 inches too short as the ball falls incomplete at midfield. With 9 seconds remaining, it's 4th and long for the Conquistadors.
Wilson had all day to throw that ball that time.
The Greyhounds wanting to defend against a touchdown and perhaps have enough people in the defensive secondary to pick that ball off for a run back. Let Wilson get by with just a 3-man rush. So John Roberts will kick the ball away. He hit it at about the 15. Back deep is number 21, D. Harris. A low snap. Roberts just gets the ball away. 2-1. And the half is over as Roberts gets nailed.
And no flag.
Well, the ball hit the ground on the snap, and once the ball goes to the ground, the kicker is open season.
I was thinking that you have to hit the ball, but that's right. If it hits the ground, too, it's open season on him. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. With the end of the first half, the score, Cabrillo Conquistadors 7, the Atascadero Greyhounds 6, and we'll be back after this.
At Atascadero High School, where it's the Conquistadors 7 and the Greyhounds of Atascadero 6. And Ernie, we saw first half that momentum kind of went left and right, depending on who had the ball and just what happened. You might look like a team was stopped on one series of downs. They come right back and run the ball up and down the field.
Well, you know, this is the second time I've disagreed with you tonight, Dean. But I don't think momentum has swung that much. I think the momentum in the entire ball game has been with the Greyhounds. The Conks had that one good drive after the block punt, but other than that, they haven't done very much offensively. And the Greyhounds have been able to just pretty much move the ball at will, and unfortunately, they've had some breaks that have cost them probably two other scoring opportunities.
Well, if we look at numbers, I have to admit that you're probably right. Cabrillo with just about 85 yards on the in the first half. That's both ground and air, and 42 of those yards coming on Fitz-Wilson passes. On the other hand, for the Greyhounds, they have 118 yards on the ground with another 40 through the air. The big man is Tom Kafuri, the quarterback. He's done so well running out of pressure when he drops back to pass. He's got 58 yards himself.
Well, the one thing that the Conks generally are relatively good at is forcing that, rushing the passer and making him throw the ball. But for some reason tonight, the secondary seems to be doing their job because there's nobody to throw the ball to. But there's not the pressure being put on by the lineman for the defensive lineman for Cabrillo, and Kafuri is having all day to do exactly what he wants to with that football.
Two big breaks for the Conquistadors, the block punt by Tawa Davis, and then the fumble by the big man, Cooks, for Atascadero, that turned the ball over about midfield for the Conquistadors. And, of course, the big play for the Greyhounds, a 35-yard touchdown pass play from Kafuri to Diaz over the top of Brian Grant. So in the first half, it was one touchdown apiece and a couple of breaks. It's 7-6 Cabrillo, and we'll be back with the kickoff in the second half right after this. Atascadero High School, it's halftime. The Cabrillo Conquistadors lead at 7-6, and there's part of the fine crowd that has followed the Conquistadors all the way up here to Atascadero to see this league championship playoff game between the Cabrillo Conquistadors and the Atascadero Greyhounds. The second half will have the Conquistadors kicking off to the Greyhounds. Back deep to receive for Atascadero will be number 21, D. Harris.
Harris, a 5'10", 173-pound junior, and he did some running for the Greyhounds in the first half, coming in to give a rest to Adrian Cook.
Brian Grant to kick the ball off for the Conquistadors. And the second half is underway. Harris with the ball at the 7-yard line. Follow the blockers up the middle in a big hole. D. Harris from the 7-yard line being chased by Brian Grant, but his score on the opening kickoff here in the second half. D. Harris with a 93-yard touchdown run off the kickoff.
Well, it certainly was a good run that time, and he broke right up the middle, and that wedge held until he broke through it, broke to the outside. There was nobody to stop him but Brian Grant, and he just outran Grant for the final 30 yards. So very quickly here in the second half, 11:48 having still remaining in the second half, and the Greyhounds go quickly on top 12-7.
That's been something that the Greyhounds have done all year long in preseason. They've been very fortunate with their special teams blocking. And Harris, with good speed, just ran away from the field once he crossed his own 40-yard line. So it's 12-7 Greyhounds, and they'll try to tack on the extra point right here. The Greyhounds are a little confused about what to do, and they're going to have to call a timeout in order to get their act together.
Well, that's unfortunate because they may need those timeouts later on in the ball game. The game isn't over yet.
So the quarterback, Tom Kafuri, asking the coach, what are we supposed to do? Are we kicking or are we going for two?
So with the Greyhounds calling timeout, having just scored the touchdown on a 93-yard run by D. Harris, lead 12-7, and we'll be back with the try for extra point after this.
The Greyhounds have moved the ball all the way over to the left hash mark. They're going to run the option to the right side. They'll throw the ball to the right side, wide open, and stumbling into the end zone. Number 21, the man who scored the touchdown to start with, D. Harris. The two-point conversion is good, and it's Atascadero 14 and the Conquistadors 7. .11:48 left to play in the ball game. The Greyhounds lead 14-7
and they've come back after they have ready to play football, and the Conks haven't.
That's what it would appear. Kicking off will be Craig Ivy. Back deep to receive, number 21, Rod Davis. Short kick, fielded by Scott Duncan, and Duncan across midfield. So a heads-up play by the secondary line in that receiving team. It'll be 1st and 10, Cabrillo with good field position at the Atascadero 49-yard line. And the Conquistadors, who have not played real well in the second half after the first couple of ball games, have their work cut out for them. Morgan and Sullivan come to the right. The give is up the middle to Walton. Kenny Walton with a couple of yards. Down to the 46.
Something interesting when they were in a huddle that time, and I didn't get the number of the player, but the Conks seem to be still loosening up from the halftime rest, and they stayed in that dressing room an awful long time. The Greyhounds out and able to get that 3 minutes to loosen up, so maybe it is that the Conks aren't quite loose as yet.
2nd down and 7. Up the middle to Rod Davis. And Davis across the 45 to the 43-yard line. A pickup of 4. It'll be 3rd down and 4 yards to go for the Conquistadors. Smart and Sullivan wide to the right. Duncan at tight end. On the option, Wilson. Wilson across the 40-yard line, down across the 35, and it'll be a 1st down.
Good read that time by Fitzgerald Wilson. Holding on to the football, turning it up inside the block that time of Sullivan, enabling him to get enough for the 1st down. So it'll be the Conks ball 1st and 10 from the 32-yard line of the Greyhounds.
10:20 remaining here in the 3rd quarter. Cabrillo trails 14-7. Wilson looking for Mike Sullivan, and Sullivan making a nice catch on the ball down at the 17-yard line. So Wilson throwing that ball, running away from his momentum, gets it to Sullivan. It'll be 1st and 10, Cabrillo.
Good for a 1st down for Cabrillo. 1st and 10 for the Conquistadors.
Ball at the 17-yard line. Wilson keeps the ball, gets a fine block outside from Sullivan. Wilson down across the 10 to the 6-yard line. And Mike Sullivan just threw a great block.
Good block that time by Sullivan, and a good run that time by Wilson. Wilson kind of got jammed up inside, but able to work his way to the outside, and now they're going to bring the sticks all the way across the field to measure to see if he has enough for the 1st down. It's close.
Referee is indicating a 1st down. The ball at the 6-yard line.
he got tired of waiting for the stick.
So Wilson, reading on the belly series extremely well, knowing that Rod Davis was going to go down if he gave him the ball, took it outside the end, got a great block from Mike Sullivan, and it's 1st and goal for Cabrillo.
1st down for Cabrillo. 1st and goal.
2 tight ends. The give is to Davis. Davis follows the blockers across the 5 to the 4. Running out of that wishbone in short yardage situations, give him a lot more blocking, a lot more power. Pickup of 2 on the play. It'll be 2nd down and goal from the 4. Edgecombe in at fullback. The give is to Mike Marcelli. Marcelli maybe gets 1. It'll be 3rd and goal.
Going with the bigger backs now in the wishbone. When they run from that wishbone, Walton out of the ball game. They go with Davis, Brantley, and Marcelli.
Tiemann and Duncan are the tight ends. Rod Davis And Davis, once again, slices into the end zone for the touchdown. Had to be sure that he had penetrated the end zone with the ball. So with just over 8 minutes remaining, the Conquistadors come right back.
A good drive that time. The Greyhounds here again had play backfire. They tried the semi-onside kick. It backfired with a good heads-up play by Duncan, and Conk's able to move the ball.
Mike Sullivan with a point-after attempt, and it's good. The score's tied at 14. So with 8 minutes and 7 seconds remaining, we have a new ball game. We'll be back right after these messages. 8 minutes, 7 seconds remaining here in the third quarter out of Atascadero, and it's knotted up at 14. D. Harris, a 93-yard touchdown kickoff return for Atascadero, and the Conquistadors come right back, march the ball downfield, and Rod Davis slices into the end zone, ties it up for Cabrillo. Mike Sullivan, of course, 2 for 2 tonight. So Cabrillo now again having to kick the ball off, and I think they'll probably be a little more careful this time as Brian Grant puts the ball. D. Harris back deep to receive for the Greyhounds. The short kick, they don't want to have Harris get a chance to run that ball again. It's loose on the field. Those number 44, Joe Scott, the fullback, had trouble fielding that ball and almost lost it. It's 1st and 10 for the Greyhounds. The ball will be spotted at their own 28-yard line.
So our first opportunity to see the Greyhounds on offense here in the second half, although they scored 8 points. Harris coming out of the ball game, so they're going to go with Brandon, Cooks, and Heineman, and Scott.
Kafuri rocked just as he gives the ball off, and it's fumbled down there. The intended carrier was Adrian Cooks, and Cooks is talking to Kafuri, but I'll tell you, I didn't get the number, and I hope we can see that on the replay, but Tom Kafuri got rocked just as he handed the ball off.
Well, you know, it actually wasn't Cooks or Kafuri's fault. That was just a good defensive play that time by the Conquistadors that caused him to cough that ball up.
It's 1st and 10, the ball at the 28-yard line, and the Conquistadors with another break. The quick pitch to Kenny Walton. Walton trying to get outside, and once again, that Hound defense stringing out those wide plays extremely well.
We've seen very little of Walton in the ball game. In tonight's ball game, he has, 5 carries for 3, 5, 6, and 3 is
4 yards.
For 4 yards, so not very much from Walton tonight.
2nd down and 7 for the Conquistadors. Deal and Vincent Flowers come wide to the right. The give is to Rod Davis. Davis high steps through that right side of the line up across the 20-yard line.
You know, that was the first expression that came to my mind, too, as I saw him step through there. He was really high-stepping that time. A good run that time by Davis. Big 3rd down and about a yard to go, and they're coming in with that offense to run the wishbone.
3rd down and 1. The ball at the 19. The wishbone fullback is Kevin Edgecombe. The give is to Marcelli. Marcelli will have enough for the 1st down. Gets down to about the 16-yard line.
Good block that time by Edgecombe as he just went and took that center head on, as I guess Roberts must have blocked down on the guard because it was Edgecombe who went one-on-one with the center, or with the nose guard, driving him back enough to allow Marcelli to get the 1st down.
1st and 10, the ball at the Atascadero 16-yard line. Sullivan, Morgan wide to the left. Duncan tight end. The give is to Walton, and Walton finds some room. Kenny Walton. 16-yard ramble for the touchdown, and what a fine hole by the left side of that offensive line.
And just when we say we haven't seen much of Walton, he comes to run 16 yards for a touchdown. I think he has a speaker in that helmet, and he hears what we say up here. Good run that time, so that puts the Conks on top now, 2014, with 6:12 left to go in the 3rd period. And what in the first half was a good defensive battle has turned into a I take the ball, run with it, you take the ball, run with it, and we all score here in the second half.
Mike Sullivan on deck now for his 3rd attempt at the point after. penalty flag on the play. The kick is good, but we'll have to see what the penalty is.
Legal procedure. Wilson never got set. He was late coming onto the field, and he never got set before the ball was snapped.
We'll back up 5 and try it again. This is an awfully big point.
It is.
Conquistadors out on top by 6. They need the extra point to maintain the margin. The Greyhounds have shown that they can strike with alarming speed. So Sullivan now will attempt to kick from the 15-yard line. Sullivan once again true to the mark. And with 6 minutes, 12 seconds remaining here in the third quarter, it's the Conquistadors 21 and the Hounds 14. Blockers across the 5 to the 4. Running out of that wishbone in short yardage situations, give them a lot more blocking, a lot more power. Pick up 2 on the play. It'll be second down and goal from the 4. Edgecombe in at fullback. The give is to Mike Marcelli. Marcelli maybe gets 1. It'll be third and goal.
Going with the bigger backs now in the wishbone. When they run from that wishbone, Walton out of the ball game. They go with Davis, Brantley, and Marcelli.
Tiemann and Duncan are the tight ends. Rod Davis. And Davis once again slices into the end zone for the touchdown. Had to be sure that he had penetrated the end zone with the ball. So with just over 8 minutes remaining, the Conquistadors come right back.
A good drive that time. The Greyhounds here again had play backfire. They tried the semi-onside kick. It backfired with a good heads-up play by Duncan, and Conk's able to move the ball.
Mike Sullivan with a point after attempt, and it's good. The score's tied at 14. So with 8 minutes and 7 seconds remaining, we have a new ball game. We'll be back right after these messages. And it's knotted up at 14. D. Harris, a 93-yard touchdown kickoff return for Atascadero, and the Conquistadors come right back, march the ball downfield, and Rod Davis slices into the end zone, ties it up for Cabrillo. Mike Sullivan, of course, 2 for 2 tonight. So Cabrillo now again having to kick the ball out, but I think they'll probably be a little more careful this time as Brian Grant puts the ball. D. Harris back deep to receive for the Greyhounds. The short kick, they don't want to have Harris get a chance to run that ball again. It's loose on the field. That was number 44, Joe Scott, the fullback. Had trouble fielding that ball and almost lost it. It's first and 10 for the Greyhounds. The ball will be spotted at their own 28-yard line.
So our first opportunity to see the Greyhounds on offense here in the second half, although they scored 8 points. Harris coming out of the ball game, so they're going to go with Brandon, Cooks, and Heineman, and Scott.
Kafuri rocked just as he gives the ball off, and it's fumbled down there. The intended carrier was Adrian Cooks, and Cooks was talking to Kafuri, but I'll tell you, I didn't get the number, and I hope we can see that on the replay, but Tom Kafuri got rocked just as he handed the ball off.
Well, you know, it actually wasn't Cooks or Kafuri's fault. That was just a good defensive play that time by the Conquistadors that caused him to cough that ball up.
It's first and 10, the ball at the 28-yard line, and the Conquistadors with another break. The quick pitch to Kenny Walton. Walton trying to get outside, and once again, that Hound defense stringing out those wide plays extremely well.
We've seen very little of Walton in the ball game. In tonight's ball game, he has, 5 carries for 3, 5, 6, and 3 is
4 yards.
for 4 yards, so not very much from Walton tonight.
Second down and 7 for the Conquistadors. Deal and Vincent Flowers come wide to the right. The give is to Rod Davis. Davis high steps through that right side of the line up across the 20-yard line.
You know, that was the first expression that came to my mind, too, as I saw him step through there. He was really high-stepping that time. A good run that time by Davis. Bigger third down and about a yard to go, and they're coming in with that offense to run the wishbone.
Third down and 1. The ball at the 19. The wishbone fullback is Kevin Edgecombe. The give is to Marcelli. Marcelli will have enough for the first down, gets down to about the 16-yard line.
Good block that time by Edgecombe as he just went and took that center head on, as I guess Roberts must have blocked down on the guard because it was Edgecombe who went one-on-one with the center, or with the nose guard, driving him back enough to allow Marcelli to get the first down.
First and 10, the ball at the Atascadero 16-yard line. Sullivan, Morgan wide to the left. Duncan tight end. The give is to Walton, and Walton finds some room. Kenny Walton. 16-yard ramble for the touchdown, and what a fine hole by the left side of that offensive line.
And just when we say we haven't seen much of Walton, he comes and runs 16 yards for a touchdown. I think he has a speaker in that helmet, and he hears what we say up here. Good run that time, so that puts the Conks on top now, 20-14, with 6:12 left to go in the third period. And what in the first half was a good defensive battle has turned into a I take the ball, run with it, you take the ball, run with it, and we all score here in the second half.
Mike Sullivan on deck now for his third attempt at the point after. Penalty flag on the play. The kick is good, but we'll have to see what the penalty is.
The legal procedure. Wilson never got set. He was late coming onto the field, and he never got set before the ball was snapped.
We'll back up 5 and try it again. This is an awfully big point.
It is.
Conquistadors out on top by 6. They need the extra point to maintain the margin. The Greyhounds have shown that they can strike with alarming speed. So Sullivan now will attempt to kick from the 15-yard line. Sullivan once again true to the mark. And with 6 minutes, 12 seconds remaining here in the third quarter, it's the Conquistadors 21 and the Hounds 14. Gene Lynch along with Ernie Hutchinson, and we've got a barn burner here in the second half. It's 21-14, Conquistadors, 6:12 remaining. Brian Hutchinson will kick off. D. Harris deep for the Hounds. Squib kick by Cabrillo, taken by Scott at the 24-yard line, and Joe Scott with the ball up to the 35. It'll be first and 10 Hounds.
That was Brian Grant that kicked off. Brian Hutchinson hadn't been at Cabrillo in quite a while.
Did I say Hutchinson? I knew that. I apologize, Brian.
Ran track, too. He never
Yes, he
played no
did.
football.
Yes, he did. First and 10 for the Greyhounds at the 35. The give is to Adrian Cooks, and Adrian Cooks is mashed. Terry Brantley very excited about the hit on Cooks.
And well, he should be, because they've run away from him a time or two tonight.
Pick up about a half a yard for Adrian Cooks. It'll be second down and 10 for the Hounds. The ball at the 36. Tom Kafuri. The give on the crossbuck to number 34, Adrian Cooks once again, and Cooks up to the 40-yard line. A pickup of 3 on the play. It'll be third down and 6.
Now, one adjustment that you can see that defensively the Conks have done here in the second half, they move those linemen into the gaps and they're charging straight ahead. They're not having to charge on a slant, closing down some of those holes.
Fury to throw the ball. It's complete over the middle. The ball carrier, number 83, John Menez, forced out of bounds at the 33-yard line.
Good route that time, run by Menez. Menez, 6'4", 185 pounds. Ran a good route, had a good pass that time by Kifuri.
So it's 1st and 10 for the Greyhounds. On the draw, the ball is given to Adrian Cooks, and Cooks is rocked at the 35. It'll be a loss of 2.
Tower Davis and Steve Duncan were coming that time, and Scott Duncan. Touche. So nowhere for Cooks to really go on the draw.
4 minutes remaining here in the third quarter. Hounds ball, 2nd and 12 yards. The pitch is to Scott, and Scott's got a lot of room to run. And it's finally bumped down at the 21-yard line. 14-yard gain. It's 1st and 10 at Atascadero.
Good blocking that time by the right side of the Greyhound line. The tackle over there, number 75, John Hurst. And the tight end, Menez, with a good block to open up the hole for Scott.
1st down, Kafuri pitches back. And the ball carrier rocked at the 21-yard line, and we have a penalty flag down. And the ball carrier still on the ground. Got hit hard in the ribs.
By number 77, Kurt Clemens.
Holding call will go against the Hounds.
Kurt Clemens making the stop, a 5'11", 201-pound tackle, just with an outstanding tackle that time. The ball carrier down. We'll be back with the remainder of the third quarter with the Conks leading 21-14 after this.
The clock is running. It's 3:20 remaining in the third quarter. It was D. Harris who was injured on the play. He's up and off the field under his own power. 15-yard penalty for holding. Kafuri wants to throw. Over the middle is complete. Again to the big tight end, number 83, John Menez. And Menez down to the 14-yard line. Kafuri only a 42% passer, but he's been right on the mark tonight.
Well, the last 2 passes to Menez have just been outstanding routes run by Menez.
It'll be 2nd down and about 3 at the 14-yard line for the Greyhounds. They send Jerry Brandon and Chris Heineman wide left and right. The Fury on the give to Cooks. Cooks down about to the 12. It'll be 3rd down and 1 for the Greyhounds. Ball spotted at the 12-yard line. Diaz is in the ballgame now for the Greyhounds. He was the fellow that took in the touchdown pass for Atascadero. Now we have a penalty flag. Dead ball foul offside on Cabrillo. Somebody lined up in the neutral zone. That gives them a free 1st down. It'll be 1st and goal, Greyhounds. The ball at the 6 for Atascadero. It's 1st and goal. 2:25 remaining in the third period. Out of the wishbone, Kafuri checking off. Keeps the ball. Edgecombe wraps him up at the 5. It'll be a gain of 1. It'll be 2nd and goal. give him only about a gain of a football length.
Second down for the Hounds.
Brandon wide to the right. The ball is given to D. Harris. And D. Harris simply didn't quit. He was hit 3 or 4 times in those last 4 yards and just didn't go down. And so it's touchdown, Greyhounds.
And that was all D. Harris that time, as he just ran through about 4 conks and brings the Greyhounds now within a point of tying the ball game with 1:38 left to play in the third quarter.
So the Greyhounds now going for the lead at home will line up for the 2-point conversion attempt. It's Brandon wide to the right. To Fury to give once again to D. Harris. And D. Harris waltzes into the end zone. And with 1 minute, 38 seconds remaining in the third quarter, it's Atascadero 22 and Cabrillo 21.
1:38 left to play in the third quarter. Cabrillo trails in the ball game now, 22-21 after the 6-yard run by D. Harris for the touchdown for the Greyhounds. Harris, a 5'10", 173-pound junior, and he's been Mr. Everything for the Greyhounds out here tonight.
He certainly has. He's been very impressive. Craig Ivey to kick off once again. Back deep to receive. Rod Davis. Davis at the 8-yard line. Slips and falls at the 20. So Davis maybe with a hole and maybe not. Slips and falls at the 20. It'll be 1st and 10 Cabrillo at their own 20-yard line.
I didn't notice on the last kickoff, but apparently it was so because Davis ran the last kickoff back, so Brian Grant not in there now running those kicks back.
First down, Cabrillo on their own 20-yard line.
1:25 remaining in the third quarter. Fitz Wilson gives to Kenny Walton. Walton gets a couple. This large, very vocal Atascadero crowd now cheering on every play. Pickup of 3 on the play. It'll be 2nd down and 7 with 1 minute remaining in the third quarter. Wilson to throw the ball. Is hit and hit hard at the 25-yard line.
Scott Davis, number 76, in on a tackle for the Greyhounds, stopping Wilson after a short gain. Brings up a 3rd and long for the Conquistadors. The ball spotted right at the 24-yard line.
3rd and about 5 for Cabrillo. Wilson to throw again. Has some room to run. And gets up to the 30-yard line. And perhaps the length of a ball beyond. And I was impressed the way the Hounds closed down that end as soon as Wilson decided he was going for it. So at the end of 3 quarters of play, it is Atascadero 22 and the Conquistadors 21. We'll be back. 12 minutes of football remaining. It's 1st and 10. Cabrillo at their own 30-yard line. They trail by 1, and the Atascadero crowd cheering them on for the 4th quarter. It's an old football philosophy. If you win the 4th quarter, you win the ball game. Wilson on the give to Rod Davis. And Davis with a couple of yards. It'll be 2nd and 8. Atascadero with a reputation on the line here. Up against 6-0, the Conquistadors. Lead it by 1. 2nd down, 8 yards to go at the 32. The quick pitch to Rod Davis. Davis cuts inside a block by Ruben Soto. Is up across the 35-yard line. pickup of 4 by Davis. It'll be 3rd down and 4.
So the Greyhounds now are able to force the Conch continually in these 3rd and long situations, and that's something that as a coach you don't want to get into.
Wilson to throw. Up across the 40, and Fitz Wilson with a burst of speed out of bounds at the 43-yard line. It'll be 1st down. So good pass coverage by the Hounds. Wilson able to get the 1st down on his own.
Wilson with field sense that time, knowing exactly where he was on the field, and as soon as he got the 1st down, stepped out of bounds because he's taking some shots tonight.
1st and 10, the ball at the 44-yard line. They give us to Rod Davis. Davis pounded once again as he crosses the 45. Up to the 47. It'll be 2nd down and 7. The ball at the 47-yard line of Cabrillo. Wilson beginning to show that limp on the weak ankle again. He's taking a lot of shots, as you mentioned. Mike Deal and Mike Sullivan go wide to the right. The give is to Kenny Walton. Walton gets 1. Fury taking it on his own across the 10-yard line. It's 1st and goal, Greyhound.
Good safe play that time, and well, the Greyhounds, they caught the Conch coming, but still he was able to, all he had to do was get the length of the football, I think.
7:40 remaining in the ball game. It's 1st and goal for the Greyhounds as Brandon goes wide to the left. Scott, Cooks, and Harris in the backfield with Tom Kafuri. The give is to D. Harris, and Harris once again just will not go down, and they give him his rolling as well. He hit it about the 7-yard line, and they'll give him to the 5.
Well, I haven't really been impressed with the marking of the ball for either team in this whole ball game. The people that mark the ball wander all around the field after they make the spot, so it's interesting to see sometimes where the ball is going to get marked.
2nd and goal from the 5. Kafuri to Harris once again. And Harris fights his way down to the 3, and quite frankly, I'd give it to him every time. He seems to be the hardest one of those backs to bring down, and yet he's the smallest.
Yes, he is. That will bring up a 3rd down and goal for the Greyhounds.
Marcelli making the tackle as the Greyhound cheerleaders exhorting their team to fight, and they've done just that here in the 4th quarter with 6:36 remaining. They lead it by 1 and are in charge right now. Jerry Brandon goes wide to the left. It's 3rd and goal at the 3. D. Harris once again, and this time D. Harris is greeted by Kevin Edgecombe and Mike Marcelli, along with number 75, J.J. Morris.
Now there's someone we haven't heard much out of tonight, is J.J. Morris. I think that's the first time his name's been called tonight. So it'll be 4th down now for the Greyhounds.
Well, I wonder if Morris is entirely healthy. He was slow coming out at halftime with John Roberts, who had taken a shot just as the half ended. But it's 4th down and 2 yards for the Greyhounds. A big play here for Atascadero. The quick pass over the middle is intercepted by Scott Duncan, and Duncan run out of bounds by 11, at the 11 rather, and Cabrillo has to feel lucky coming out with the ball even down at their own 11-yard line.
And they bit the bullet that time, I'll tell you, because the Greyhounds were all on the go after the unfortunate turnover on the mishandling of the snap on the punt. So it'll be the Conch's ball, 1st and 10. They trail by a point, 22-21 with 5:34 left to go in the ball game.
1st and 10 at the 11 for the Conquistadors. Vincent Flowers and Tim Morgan wide to the right. The give is to Rod Davis up the middle. Davis spins across the 15 to about the 17. A nice piece of running by Rod Davis.
Number 21, the ball carrier, Rod Davis.
Davis, the second leading ground gainer in San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara counties. Pick up a 6, it'll be 2nd and 4. Wilson on the keeper is up across the 25 to the 26-yard line. So the Conquistadors now trying to loosen up that Greyhound defense. 4:58 remaining. It's 1st and 10, Cabrillo.
Plenty of time for the Conks to move this ball. Left in the ball game, 4:50 with the clock running. They trail only by a point. If they could get it within Sullivan's range.
Smart and Flowers out to the left. The give is to Kenny Walton. Walton will get a couple. Ball spotted at the 27, 28-yard line, and pick up of 2 for Kenny Walton. It'll be 2nd down and 8. Wilson on the keeper this time is going nowhere, and he'll be thrown for a loss all the way back to the 27-yard line.
Well, what happened that time was he wanted to pitch the ball, but Davis had lost that pitch position and actually had run past Wilson, going up, I think, to throw a block, and there was nobody to pitch the ball to.
The defensive end and the right corner for the Greyhounds, an excellent job in covering the quarterback and the pitchman. As we're at 3:45 and counting here in the 4th quarter, the Conquistador with 3rd and a long 8, trailed by 1. Wilson to throw the ball, intended for Sullivan, is intercepted at the 32-yard line by number 55, Jeff Huff. So Jeff Huff putting an end to the Conquistador drive. Fitz Wilson threw into traffic. There was no way that Sullivan was open over the middle. And it's 1st and 10 for the Greyhounds at the Cabrillo 24-yard line. So Cabrillo out of the frying pan right into the fire here with 3:15 remaining in the ball game. 1st and 10, Hounds. D. Harris. Harris down to the 21-yard line. A pickup of 3 on the play. It'll be 2nd down and 7. .230 remaining in the ball game. The Greyhounds in the driver's seat as the give once again is to Harris. Harris fumbles the ball away, and this time it's the Conquistador, so it's give it away, take it away.
Well, that's the break that the Conks need. We're almost to 2 minutes here in the ball game. 2:25 left to go in the ball game, and the Conks get the ball on the turnover by D. Harris. So it'll be 1st and 10 to go for the Conks from their own 17-yard line. As again, the Greyhounds are awfully close to getting into that end zone.
2 minutes, 10 seconds and counting. Fitz Wilson to throw the ball. Looking for a block. And finally gets up to about the line of scrimmage. With a receiver, Tim Morgan, wide open up at the 30-yard line. But by the time Morgan was open, I'm afraid that Fitz Wilson had no time to look for him.
So Cabrillo takes their first time out with 1:53 left to play in the ball game.
Art Smith is a pharmacist who believes in innovation. He's the owner of Medical Center, a clinical pharmacy and practice. Counseling is automatic on prescriptions. Art was the pioneer of computerized records. free blood pressure monitoring made possible in part by Knights of Pythias. Now available, GlucoScan, the world's most advanced personal blood glucose monitoring system. For the purest beauty you have ever known, there's Physician's Formula, the hypoallergenic cosmetic that will pamper and protect your delicate complexion. There's so much more to Medical Center Pharmacy, free delivery, and a drive-up window for the convenience of those that can't leave the car. See the friendly staff at Medical Center Pharmacy, 616 East Ocean Avenue.
We make music excitement with the best in rock. The Fall Concert Series continues with the hottest names in rock. Backed by popular demand, Culture Club and Cyndi Lauper are just some of the rock and roll stars featured in Showtime's own Best of Rock of the 80s. We'll have you rocking in your seat and dancing to the beat.
The Conquistadors have always banked on Walton Davis gang to spring the big play when they needed it the most, but that's exactly what the Greyhounds have taken away from the Conquistadors in tonight's ball game. Walton and Davis have just not been the influence on the game that they have in the previous 6 ball games.
As you say, Wilson unable to see Morgan, but I'm sure Morgan's going to go back in there and tell him, said, hey, when you get to scrambling around, that corner's running right away from me, so why don't you scramble around, just take and throw me the ball. I'll go ahead and score a touchdown for you.
If that's what you need. It'll be second down and 9 yards as Mike Deal and Mike Sullivan come wide to the left. Wilson to throw the ball once again. And a nice diving catch by Mike Sullivan at the 33-yard line. What a great effort on the part of Mike Sullivan.
Well, that's his primary receiver. That's who he's going to have to go to. He's going to have to get that ball down to Sullivan or to 85 Duncan in order to make this drive successful. Sullivan with the quick feet able to catch that ball and get out of bounds. That's his big attribute there.
First and 10 at the 34 for the Conquistadors. The Greyhounds in a prevent defense, they're rushing only 3 people. Fitz Wilson keeps the ball around and runs out of bounds to stop the clock. To pick up a 3, it's 2nd and 7 with 1 minute and 38 seconds remaining in the ball game.
That's the smart thing that Wilson has done. He got about 4 or 5 yards on that play. But it was more important to get out of bounds and stop the clock that time than it was to pick up 5 or 6 yards.
It's 2nd and about 6 for the Conquistadors. They got a minute and a half to put something on the board. The give is up the middle to Kenny Walton. Walton gets just across the 40-yard line to the 41 and pick up a 3. It'll be 3rd down.
So that's their second timeout. They have 1 left, and we have a minute 33 left to play in the game. It is 3rd down and about 3 yards to go for the Conks. They trail in the ball game 22-21, and this has turned into quite a ball game.
The last half of the 3rd quarter and this 4th quarter has been really exciting. We've seen a lot of good play on both sides, and yet both sides giving the ball away when they could least afford to do just that.
Well, if Cabrillo is able to move the ball, the thing that they're going to have to do is move the ball and get out of bounds, because they're going to want to save that 1 timeout that they have left so that if they do get in field goal range, they can use that timeout to set that field goal up. And so now you're going to see a lot of passes to the outside, or see Wilson just running wide to get out of bounds with the football.
It's 3rd down and 3 for the Conquistadors. They send Mike Deal wide to the weak side. Sullivan comes to the left. A quick pass out of the backfield. Rod Davis. And Davis gets the first down up to about the 47 or 8-yard line and stops the clock with 1:28 remaining. Seven-yard pickup for Rod Davis. It's 1st and 10 at the 48 for Cabrillo. Wilson to throw the ball. The ball thrown incomplete as Wilson steps out of a tackle back at the 42-yard line. Intended for Scott Duncan, the tight end. It'll be 2nd and 10 at the 48. The ball, the clock stops with 1:21 remaining.
I looked across the way. Oh, Wilson almost picked up 4 yards on that incomplete pass. The head linesman had signals to the flag man to move the flag.
Morgan and Sullivan wide to the left. On the option, Wilson takes it inside across midfield and down across the 45. And out of bounds with 1:13 remaining. They'll mark the ball just across the 45. It'll be 3rd down and a short 3 for the Conquistadors. 25 more yards and they might be in range. It's Deal and Sullivan this time wide to the weak side. The Hounds only rushing 3 defensive linemen. Fitz Wilson around then, scoots out of bounds. Once again, stepped out at the 45. It'll be no gain.
So that will bring up a 4th down.
Lost back to the 46. So it all rests, it would seem to me, on this play right here, Ernie, with 4th down and 3 yards. It either works here or it goes home.
Shuffle pass. And then they're going to have to use their timeout.
The give is straight up the middle, and it's going to be close. It'll depend on where they mark it.
Minute 3, and we'll have to see where they mark the ball.
Discount Furniture of Lompoc discounts quality major brand new furniture and mattresses 365 days a year. There are 6 reasons why you'll always save money. No fancy showrooms. No high-paid executives. No fancy fixtures. No expensive equipment. No home office to support. And no commission salespeople. Beautiful name-brand furniture at discount prices. Visit Discount Furniture, 908 North 8th Street in Lompoc.
And they're short by inches.
1st down.
They did call it. They straightened the chain, looked it up. The first reaction was by Atascadero that it was short, but no.
1st down, Cabrillo.
The Atascadero fans think that the Greyhound players on the field should have had that call. And quite frankly, I thought it was short myself. It looked to me as though the linesman placed the ball short.
I thought he did too, but I don't know, I think they had the ball cocked when we looked at it, when they straightened the ball out. It probably was enough to give them the 1st down.
1st and 10 at the 43. Wilson to throw the ball. Dumps off to Rob Davis. And Davis will get a couple. And the Conquistadors are going to have to use it or hurry up. And they do spend it.
47 seconds left to play. And this is going to be a ball game right to the end.
47 seconds remaining. It's 2nd down and 7 yards for the Conquistadors. But the 7 yards is really not the story. The story here is another 20 to put Mike Sullivan in range for the field goal or throw the ball in the end zone. But they've got to do it with no timeouts. The Conquistadors trail here, 22-21. And we've seen just about everything there is to see in this ball game. Second down and 7 yards for the Conquistadors at the Greyhound 39. Greyhound fans on their feet. Wilson wants to throw the ball. He looks over the middle. And the pass is complete to Mike Deal at the 20-yard line. 20-yard pickup to Deal. 1st and 10 at the 20. And Cabrillo now with 40 seconds. Certainly has to feel a little bit better. Wilson to throw. And the pass is complete at the 14-yard line to Scott Duncan. A pickup of 6. The clock is running, 20 seconds. And the pass from Wilson that time complete to the wide receiver.
That was Duncan, the tight end, and he's out of bounds across the way with just 14 seconds left to play now. And it'll be a 3rd down.
3rd and about 2. The ball at the 12.
Sullivan is on the field with the kicking tee, so they're not going to take any more chances. The ball will be...
Mike Sullivan will place the ball. It looks to be the 19-yard line. It'll be a 29-yard attempt here with 14 seconds remaining. The kick is up. It's long. And it's good. And look at the bench across the way. The Cabrillo fans and football team just going crazy here with 10 seconds remaining. The Cabrillo Conquistadors have gone on top of the Greyhounds by a score of 24-22. We'll be back with the exciting 10-second wrap-up of this football game after these words.
10 seconds left to play in the ball game. The Conks on top, 24-22, after the 29-yard field goal by Mike Sullivan. So Brian Grant has teed the ball up. We have 10 seconds left to play in the ball game. And it'll be the Conks kicking off to the Greyhounds.
The Hounds have their best hands and their best legs in that second row. They've got Cooks and Scott, Brandon in that second row. D. Harris standing back at the 10-yard line. A squib kick by Grant, taken by an up man. And it'll be 1st and 10 for the Greyhounds. The ball at the Greyhound 44-yard line. It looked to be Joe Scott who took that kickoff. It'll be timeout Greyhounds with 5 ticks of the clock remaining in this ball game.
So it'll be the Greyhounds. This will be it. And the Conks drop in their deep men back all the way back to the 20-yard line is Brian Grant. Flowers is about the 30-yard line.
Atascadero last week with only 1 completed pass, and it was a touchdown from Kafuri, and I believe it was to D. Harris. So while Kafuri does not throw for high percentage, and I think he's been his percentage much higher in tonight's ball game, he does seem to throw when they need it. He has 6 touchdowns, and that's what the head coach is telling them right now. We're going to throw that ball. We're going to get as many orange shirts as far downfield as we can get them and see if we can stay away from those white-clad folks.
Well, these Atascadero fans, every one of them on their feet, and they certainly haven't given up yet. With 5 seconds left to play in the ball game, the Conks lead it by 2, 24-22.
So 3 wide receivers will come wide to the right. Number 1, Jerry Brandon. Number 11 is Chris Heineman. Escafuri to throw the ball. Time has expired as the ball in the air and is picked off by Timmy Morgan at the 45. And Tim Morgan, all he has to do is make sure he doesn't give it back. And the Conquistadors have pulled it from the fire. It's Cabrillo, 24, Atascadero, 22, and the Conquistadors go 7-0, 2-0 in league. We'll be back with a wrap-up right after this. Ernie, 24-22, and I don't know if my heart can take it.
Well, I just was down on the field talking to Fitzgerald Wilson and to Coach Bob Bradford, and I told them, don't do this to me again. I don't know if I can put up with this, but that was certainly an outstanding ball game we saw tonight, played by both of the teams, and certainly the Atascadero Greyhounds have nothing to be ashamed of in the type of ball game that they played up there tonight.
And we got just exactly what Coach Bob Bradford said we'd get, and that is a good old country football game. We're sitting up here a long way from the football field, and we heard helmets and pads all night long, and there were a number of people walk away holding their ribs after getting stuck out there, and I'm telling you, it was a pleasure to watch most of the time.
Well, that was something else that Wilson commented on. He said he was hit as hard tonight and as frequently as he's been hit since he's been playing high school football. So, like I said, Atascadero came and they played well, and so did the Cabrillo Conquistadors. The final score 24-22. The Cars coming out on top with just 10 seconds left to play on the field goal, 29 yards by Sullivan. And as you can see, folks, it's gotten cold out here because we're now overcoats now. But we saw a good ball game, and Cabrillo now certainly in the driver's seat, undefeated 2-0 in league play and 7-0 on the season. And my congratulations to them for the outstanding season that they've had thus far this year.
We have to note also that 3 ball players approached us after the ball game and wanted to be sure that we mentioned that Jay Tiemann and Ruben Soto and Timmy Morgan would like to dedicate this ball game to Mr. Tiemann, who is recovering in the hospital from recent surgery, and certainly we wish him our best. And the congratulations go to those 3 boys for showing a lot of character in class tonight in tonight's ball game and dedicating it to Jay Tiemann's father. But a game that we saw tonight pretty much turned itself around half to half. In the first half, Atascadero dominated the statistics, and in the second half, Cabrillo.
Well, they certainly did. And one thing we saw out of Cabrillo in the second half was on the kickoff, Atascadero runs the ball all the way back for a touchdown and puts them ahead in the ball game. And the Cabrillo could have very well there given up, but they didn't. They got behind again in the ball game. They came back, and they have a lot of fortitude, these bunch of kids, and I'm real proud of them.
Well, your comment as soon as the game was over is that these kids are for real, and no one can take them lightly. And certainly at 7-0, 2-0 in league, that's a fact. So we can take a quick look at some numbers here in the ball game. In the second half, Cabrillo with 120 yards on the ground as opposed to about 42 yards in the first half. By the same token, Atascadero with 118 yards on the ground in the first half, only 47 in the second half. So as I mentioned, just a reversal in statistics. Keffery with a good night, threw 4 complete passes for 88 yards. One of those 35-yard touchdown to David Diaz that really set the fire for Atascadero. D. Harris was the big man for Atascadero all night, had the 93-yard touchdown return on the kickoff, scored another touchdown from 6 yards out, but ironically, Harris could well be looked at as the GOAT. He's the one who fumbled the ball with 2:35 left that gave Cabrillo another shot at it.
Yeah, he did, and he's an outstanding ball player. Talking with Coach Radford, he was saying that in the first half, Atascadero didn't give him anything. They couldn't find anywhere to run on them. He thought that they were lucky with the, well, not lucky, but they were fortunate with the turnover, and that they were able to get that pass off to Sullivan, who carried them down pretty deeply in the end zone, and then a couple of running plays from 2 or 3 yards out, and they go in for the touchdown. But had it not been for that, as Coach Radford said, the Greyhounds gave them nothing in the first half, but they went in and made some adjustments after the halftime and came back, and like good football teams do, came back and won the ball game. So the final score, like I said, 24-22. They win it with 10 seconds, and you can't come much closer than that.
No, you can't, and we could claim a hero for tonight. Who would it be? Would it be Mike Sullivan for his point after and the 29-yard field goal with 10 seconds left that wins the ball game? Or is it maybe Tawa Davis, who blocked the punt, made the first touchdown possible? Maybe it's Scott Duncan with the interception on the 1-yard line that saved Cabrillo from going even further behind in the ball game. It might even be Mike Deal, who caught the ball at the 20-yard line that finally got Cabrillo in range for Mike Sullivan's field goal. We could point at a whole raft of people. It could have been Fitz Wilson for the heads-up play at quarterback. He read the defense extremely well on a number of occasions. How about Rod Davis with 2 touchdowns? Kenny Walton with a 16-yard ramble for a touchdown. Who do we pick for a hero in tonight's ball game?
Well, if I had to pick him, I would probably pick Sullivan, and not for the fact that he kicked the field goal that won the ball game, but I thought that he did some heads-up play and ran some good routes, getting to the outside and able to get out of bounds on that last drive. And I think that his getting out of bounds on some of those, stopping the clock and saving the timeouts for him, really was the turning point, or was the big point in that drive for the field goal.
Well, Mike Sullivan also with a great night blocking out there in his wide receiver position. But it was a squeaker. It looked a number of times as though Cabrillo was going to take it away, and it looked a number of times as Atascadero was going to take it away. But the final score was 24-22, and the Conquistadors keep on marching.
Yep, they're now 7-0. They're 2-0 in league. They play next week at home, homecoming against the Paso Robles Ball Club, and we're going to invite all of you folks to come out and see that ball game. Let's fill Houck Stadium up for them, and we're going to see another good ball game because Paso Robles does have a good football team.
So if you can make it to the game, but we hope that you do, but if you can't, it's right here on TV 21. I'm Gene Lynch for Ernie Hutchinson. Good night.